broadcasting to you from the heart of northern Minnesota. Welcome to the show that's dedicated to reminding you that P. Diddy was involved in the killing of Tupac Shakur. This is the Roger Radio Show. I am your host, Roger Radio.
And I'm Aegis on Levity of the Intermission group.
How you doing, bro?
Doing good. I just took
good.
a fat shit. I'm ready to record.
Hell yeah, dude. To give you an idea of how ready I am, I got a fucking beer right here, man. Where's your beer?
Hey, it's right here.
All right, we might as well get this going, man. Let's get this party rolling. And also, ladies and gentlemen, we are celebrating a birthday of a friend of ours, G Money, who will be coming on to do a podcast with us at one point in the future. Hey, cheers and happy birthday, G Money.
Cheers to you.
Not bad indeed. Just a quick reminder to you all, ladies and gentlemen, that today's podcast is unofficially sponsored by the ripoff brand by Beats by Dr. Dre called Beatings by Chris Brown. Now, obviously, before we get started into today's topic, my radio station, who I'm not going to identify, obviously, for respectful reasons, gave me an idea that I should do a question of the podcast. So we're obviously going to start with the first ever question of the podcast, and it is, what song did you listen to when you lost your virginity?
Heartbeat by King Crimson.
Well, obviously, I was tripping at the time, you know, so it was like one of three songs. Cherry Pie by Warrant, Pour Some Sugar on Me by Def Leppard, or Any Color You Like by Pink Floyd. And that is the subject of today's show. March 2023 marks the 52 years since the birth of one of the greatest rock albums of all time. And ladies and gentlemen, I am, of course, talking about Pink Floyd's The Motherfucking Dark Side of the Moon. And obviously, I have a vinyl pressing right here. Look at that. That's a beautiful prism right there, you know. And then, of course, they had to continue upside down. That was awesome, dude. I love that. That actually did sound good. So I thought that in retrospect, Aegis and myself will talk about it today, you know? We've been listening to it a whole lot. And Aegis, do you have any stuff that you want to say about this beautiful masterpiece?
It is generally considered Pink Floyd's best album, but I disagree. I think The Wall is better.
Yeah,
I like The Wall more.
No, you know, it's so tough.
It's still a really good album,
they are like, for me, they are like equal. They are like they are like really tied, you know. And of course, you know, when you look at the retrospective things like Dark Side of the Moon is often considered their highest ranked album per se, and then you have The Wall at number 2. And then, of course, you got the other two albums that were part of the Big Four era, Wish You Were Here and Animals. And Dark Side, dude, oh my God. It's an album you can listen to from beginning to end without any skips. Like, it is just a masterpiece. I mean, folks, what has been said that has not already been said about this album? I mean, oh my God. It's just amazing. It's a beautiful masterpiece. Now, before
we're going to be going through, we're going to talk about like our interpretations of the meanings of all the songs.
Yep. Before we get started, folks, I got to take off my sunglasses because I look way too sexy in them. Alrighty. So, obviously, before we get started into it, I'm sure there's a whole lot of you who already know about like the backstory to how it started. So I'll dive into a little bit of it. So Syd Barrett, who was one of the original founders of Pink Floyd, he left the band in 1968 because of a lot of personal issues with his schizophrenia and because of his heavy drug use. And for many years afterwards, Pink Floyd spent the last several years trying to just figure out their identity. What do they want to sound like going forward? Because they were moving away from the spacey rock sound that was the focus or the sound that they were playing in their beginning days, you know? And
more like psychedelic rock, and then later they started to become more progressive.
Yep, and Aegis, I know you love your prog rock, man. You know, and I figured this is the album that's for you, you know? And I know you like this album, so. But, yeah. And so 1971 comes, they release their album Metal, and it was probably their major turning point when they released their, 21 minute song Echoes, which was the last song to close it out. They go on to do their tour around Europe, but during a meeting, Roger Waters gave him the idea, hey, let's make an album that would be part of the tour, and we just take that time to tweak with it, figure out what we want to hear or what we should play and all that, and that ended up evolving into Dark Side of the Moon. And so that tour in 1971 and 72 became less about promoting metal, but it was more about getting ready to make Dark Side, and it paid off a lot in the end. And probably in my retrospect, ladies and gentlemen, one of the best choices they had was bringing in a well-known record engineer to help engineer that. And I am, of course, talking about Alan Parsons.
Alan Parsons.
The GOAT, man. He is the GOAT. And, Alan Parsons, he ended up spending that time, giving them ideas and whatnot of, what they should do. The only idea of his that ended up on the album was the clocks that'll be for the song Time, which we will get into later. And obviously, during that whole recording process, and you could see the footage of them recording it when you find the DVD for their live show, Live at Pompeii, which is on DVD, there's behind the scenes work of them working on it. And you could tell in their eyes that they were so fucking high, dude.
Yeah.
They were ripped out of their fucking minds. Waters would end up stating that we were looking back on the footage and you could tell we were just fucking stoned. And he would go on to say, and I quote, I was going through a phase in my life where I was giving up nicotine and quitting smoking cigarettes, so I would end up rolling a joint every morning and take whatever other substance to cope with it, but it wasn't for a long time. He would end up stating on an interview with Howard Stern, when Stern asked him, aside from the weed, did you take shrooms or acid? And Waters famously replied by saying, how I ever wrote Dark Side of the Moon, I will never know to this day. Really
All right,
funny.
You ready to get into it?
Yeah. Hi. Yeah, the first song that we are gonna do, obviously, it's not much of an opening song, but it's just it's like sound effects that builds up to what you will hear throughout the process of the album. And it is simply called Speak to Me. Now, a couple of years ago, ladies and gentlemen, I did a radio show commemorating the 50-year anniversary of Dark Side of the Moon at that point. And I was trying to figure out, what are these songs about? What is the meaning behind them, per se? And my interpretations were I would share links to the songs for the first 10 days, and I would just put a simple word there of what I believe it was about. And that's what I'm going to do with these songs for my retrospect. And Aegis here will give you his side of the story. And I'm sure you got Genius.com fired up, right?
Yep. I'll be saying my personal interpretations, and I'll be, in some of the songs, I'll just read off what it says on Genius.com. Which, if you're looking for song meanings or even just the lyrics, Genius.com is a really good website for that.
Yep, and it is. And I'm going to definitely be starting to look more into that myself too, but I'm gonna let you, every time we do these album reviews, I will let you be in charge of that. So
okay.
Excuse me. So Speak to Me, in my opinion, the one word that I would match it with is simply life. The chatting and the sound effects that you hear, as it would be that you will hear later on in the album, in my retrospect, it's more like a premonition that newborn babies are supposed to allegedly have. I only say that because one of my favorite movies that I watched, The Many Saints of Newark, which is the prequel movie to The Sopranos, there is an iconic scene that I saw on there where there was a baby crying when someone was holding it, right? And the elder lady, who was the grandma or great aunt, said babies have really good foresight to know what's going to happen in the future. Not saying they're fortune tellers or anything, but I think it's a pretty unique way of describing it.
Yeah. So in this song, there's actually a spoken word part. It's I think it's a quote from yeah, it's a quote from Sid Barrett. Uh, let me read it off. It says,
Yeah,
"I've
go
been
ahead.
mad for fucking years, absolutely years. Been over the edge for yonks. Been working with bands so long. I think, crikey, I've always been mad. I know I've been mad like most of us have. Very hard to explain why you're mad, even if you're not mad."
Yeah, it's really interesting. That's the one thing I really liked about it is that, okay, so during the whole recording process, one of the big ideas that Roger Waters brought was that he would have a take these cards and he would just put a random question on there and he would have whoever comes in to answer them and just flip the card over and then so on and so on. And a lot of the people who were interviewed by that included like the behind the scenes recording crew, the tour manager, and I think one of their roadies. Funny story that I want to bring up is that Paul and Linda McCartney were interviewed or asked to do that, but their answers were left out because Rodgers felt they were trying to be too funny and not taking it seriously. And apparently, he got so mad that he just flat out told them, "Get the fuck out."
All right, so on to breathe in the air.
Yep. Breathe in the air. The simple term that I put it down was pressure. Just talking about the pressures of life itself. It is like, you go through we all go through stressful days, It's what helps, just simply breathe in, breathe out. That is my interpretation. Like I say, we all go through everyday stresses. There's so much adversity that happens. Hey, that's part of life. And that's what I like about this album, Dark Side, is that in retrospect, it's a concept album that's just talking about the realities of life that we all go through every single day. Like, it's not just me, it's not just Aegis, it's not even one of you guys, it's everyone on this planet.
Yep. See, when it says breathe, breathe in the air, what it means to me is like just take in the air, take in like all those small things in life, enjoy life.
Yep.
That's how it kind of hits me, you know?
It does, it really does. It's such a great song, man. Like, I love the overall sound of it.
Yeah, it's a good sounding song.
Yeah. And Dark Side, and this is just me right now. In retrospect, it was like one of the earlier albums that started bringing in the synthesizers, or making it to a more traditional instrument that can be used like later down the
Yeah.
road. And we've seen that with albums like Van Halen's albums 1984 and 5150. You could hear the synthesizers in those.
Yeah, and like even in King Crimson's album, in the Court of the Crimson King, their debut album, I believe it was released in 1969. They had some synthesizer sounds in there that were very groundbreaking at the time.
It really was.
Specifically in the song, the titular song, in the Court of the Crimson King.
I'll have to check that out, man. I'll have to definitely check it out. Okay, so song 3, simply titled "On the Run." My interpretation of this song is about desperation. When you listen to it, it just feels like, like it's a how fast a beat it's going. It feels like you're running towards something that you desire so much, like what you want more than anything else, but in the end you're just not going to get it. And then you hear a plane that's coming in. It feels like, oh geez, I'm running out of time. I'm running out of time. I have to get to it before it's too late. But then when the plane fucking crashes, you just missed out. You fucked up. You just missed out on what you desire or want. And that's how I feel with this. The one thing that I will quickly say, Aegis, is I saw
Yeah,
behind the scenes footage of Waters like tooling with like the sound effect, and
yeah.
it started off slow and he ended up speeding it up a little bit on accident, and it ended up going on the album. So there you go, folks. A
Okay.
little bit of
No,
facts for you.
there's some spoken words in this song too. Like it sounds like an airplane, you know, it's like Have your baggage and your passports ready and follow the green line to customs and then go to immigration. BA 215 Jerome, Cairo, and Lagos.
Yeah.
And then
One of
later in the song, it says, live for today, gone tomorrow. That's me. Which to me
ha
is like carpe diem. Live life like it's your last, like live your life. And
that
those words were spoken by Roger Manifold, which was Pink Floyd's road manager.
Yep, and that was who I was telling you about, who was one of the guys who got interviewed for that. But that one part there, oh, excuse me, fucking beer's kicking my ass right now. Oh, my
Yeah.
chains, I want to show my cross, so. But I know that that part stuck with me in my head. Live for today, gone tomorrow, that's me. That pretty much is telling every single one of you, not just us, but all of you, live today, for tomorrow may not come. Today could be your last day.
Yep.
And you
As I
will,
said, carpe diem.
yeah, carpe diem indeed.
Seize the day.
Yep, exactly.
Right.
Um,
Then we got time.
yep. Now, track 4 time, the clocks that you hear at the beginning, those are like one of the few ideas, or probably one of the only ideas that Alan Parsons gave to the band that eventually ended up on the album. And he gave so many ideas, and I keep wondering, like, what would it sound like if all those ideas came in? That kind of thing. So
Yep.
time for me is simply about age. As the days and years go by, you're getting older. We're all getting older. And you will find 10 years have just came behind you. And you're like, what the fuck, man? Hell, at this point, it's been 10 years since I started college, or my first year in college doing it. That was a good old time right there, man. And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, to me, it kind of has, to me, it hits me. It's kind of like about procrastination to me. Like there's something you got to do and you just keep putting it off. And if you keep putting it off, it'll never happen. You'll never get there.
Yeah, and I'll be
You know?
honest with you, man. I've kind of been doing that. Not with the laundry and whatnot, but it was more kind of like my dishes. I would do them every 2 weeks. And then for my floor, I would like do every 3 to 4 weeks. So I really got to start doing it more. I used to be able to do it every day. But remember, folks, I have a busy schedule, right? I have all my
To,
radio shows, and I have this stuff right here and the other stuff we're going to do, which we will talk about at the end of this podcast. It
to me,
just,
it's like about like your personal aspirations. Like I got a story I've been working on writing, and I just keep putting off. And if I keep putting it off, it'll never get done. So I got to
yeah,
work on that shit, which is what I've been trying to do these past few days.
I kind of
Because I
did
need to
that.
get the third chapter done, and then I'm going to start recording it for my channel.
Yeah, I kind of did that also with my documentary that I'm working on. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm
Yep.
not going to get it much into the information about it. I want to keep it a surprise when the time's right. But I finally finished up the script for my first documentary, which we will do here. It's a music related one. And I'm going to go through the script again when I can to just see for any
To
corrections.
edit
Or,
it.
yep, retweak the errors or whatever and that kind of thing. And maybe in a couple weeks time I will work on it, but right now there's a couple other ideas I have. We'll be doing some scripts for the Intermission group channel, and we will also talk about that at the end of this podcast.
Yeah, we
And
recorded a video today, but we'll talk about that at the end of the
yep,
podcast.
that we will. But I'm very excited. But yeah,
Yeah.
time, I gotta say, man, aside from the clocks, the sound that you hear at the beginning, like the almost sounds very Western like, don't you think?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Could you imagine if they ended up using that in a Clint Eastwood flick? Just the beginning part. Not the whole song, but just that beginning part. Could you imagine that? You got fucking Clint Eastwood there with a whip and like, go ahead, make my day. And you just hear the It's insane, man.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So that's time. Then we are
Yep.
on to the Great Gig in the Sky. This is mostly instrumental, but it's got some spoken words.
Yep, there is some stuff there. Okay, so the what I've wrote down is faith. Because
Yep.
it sounds like it has that religious aspect of it, because You have Claire Torrey who did the vocals for it, and she did a fantastic job.
Oh, she did. Beautiful voice on that woman.
She made it sound like church music. You know, you're ascending to heaven,
Yeah, I can
man.
see that.
Like the term "the great gig in the sky."
Yeah,
What? Let me ask you
that's
this,
heaven right
folks.
there. The great gig in the skies. What you've always been living for, you know, it's heaven.
Yes, exactly. Now, one story that I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so Richard Wright, who is the keyboardist, he ended up changing to the traditional piano after Alan Parsons recommended that he switch from the Hammond organ, which he used on the tours, to do the piano, and the piano sounds beautiful in it. And instead, and here's the thing, when it came to Claire Torrey, the story was that he was planning to include NASA astronaut recordings as sound effects. And honestly, I really would like to hear what it sounded like. If I
That would have
would,
been really cool if they would have done that.
yeah, I know that a rock opera that I want to make, it would include NASA astronaut recordings. Without a
Yeah,
doubt.
because like in Parasomnia, in uh one of the songs, the one Broken Man, they
Yeah.
actually had some like recordings of like excuse me, of of veterans who were in wars, just like talking about like the shit they lived through and all that.
Yep.
It'd be kind of the same thing, and that would have been really cool if they would have done that, but they didn't, which is kind of disappointing, but it's still a great album.
Yeah. Okay, so to continue on with the story that I was saying about Great Gig in the Sky. So he ended up seeing Claire Torrey sing at like a show at like a bar or nightclub or whatever one night, and then he approached her asking, "Hey, you want to come in and record something for us?" I was telling you, like, "Hey, we're recording this album for Pink Floyd. Would you be interested?" She showed up the next day, hungover out of her fucking mind, and pretty much just simply asked him, "What do you want me to do?" Roger Waters told her the concept of the album and told her to just simply improvise over the music. She would end up suing for saying that her vocals that she gave should be a songwriting credit. That got settled out of court, and her name has been on the songwriting credit stuff since. And from what I heard, her relationship with Pink Floyd's been good.
That's good.
She would
Because yeah, she
eventually,
does deserve songwriting credits for
yeah,
that.
she would end up later going on to record a song for the Alan Parsons Project for their album Eve, which is just simply titled Don't Hold Back. She would end up doing the singing for that song. So, a little bit of chemistry
Okay.
there between her and Parsons, you know. So, that's like what I like about this stuff. It's about building chemistry that could work later on. What's your interpretation about this album? Or song, I meant, Aegis. Sorry, I'm getting a little
As
buzzed.
I said, to me, it's about like, yeah, as you said, faith and dying and going to heaven. Because like the great gig in the sky, it just sounds like heaven to me. Like, you know,
Oh, yeah,
there's
absolutely.
no better way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some spoken words by Gary O'Driscoll, I think it's pronounced.
Oh, Driscoll. Dude, I don't know why. You said that fucking word or that name, dude, and I immediately thought about Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
I'm
no,
not kidding.
he said, and I'm not afraid of dying, you know. Any time will do, I don't mind. Why should I be frightened of dying? There's no reason for it. You've got to go sometime.
Right?
And
If it
then
would.
later it has an interlude and then it says, uh, I never said I was afraid of dying.
Yeah.
The
Me,
reason they might not be afraid of dying is because they might believe in a God or something, you know?
yeah.
Like I do.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not much of a religious man, but in the end, I believe there is a higher being upstairs.
Yep. I'm a
That's
Catholic
it. That's
myself.
my take on it, you know. What was I gonna say? If that was me, if they would ask me to bring stuff in, and if I would have fought in like Vietnam or whatever at that time, you know what I would have said? I was in
What?
Vietnam. Death was all around me. Death doesn't phase me anymore.
Okay. Yeah.
That would be what I would have said if they asked me like, "Are you afraid of dying?" And that was one of the questions that they asked is like, "Are you afraid of dying?" Hey, eventually we're all gonna be afraid, but we all know our time's gonna be up someday. We can't do anything about it.
Yep.
Or unless if we were one of those lucky people who would make it to like what age 100, 110 or whatnot, like some of these people
Like
did.
like Jimmy Carter.
Oh God, yeah, 100
He
years
got
old,
so
man,
old.
dude. No, I'll tell you one thing. He experienced it all.
Yep.
Okay, so that was
All right.
the.
Did you want to take a quick break or should we just go
Yes,
straight
I
to
completely
money?
forgot about that. Oh my God, dude. Dude, remember, like I said, I'm fucking already starting to drink, dude. We started
Yeah.
drinking when we recorded, our video, and we will discuss what that will be later. We don't have to talk about it right now. But hey, let's do another quick cheers before we go on break. Yeah, G Money, happy birthday, you little fucker. Uh,
Happy birthday to him.
yep.
All right. Cheers.
That being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back. Do not go anywhere. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Roger Radio Show, the show that never ends.
And that includes the two of the sexiest motherfuckers on this planet. I'll
Yep,
cheers to
you
that.
and Bernie.
Yep. Here's to you, Bernie.
What can I say? Bernie likes his beer.
Yeah, I could tell, man. I mean, dude, he looks really cold as hell, like liquor can help warm his ass up.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so before we get back into this, I just want to remind you that our unofficial sponsor of the day is Beatings by Chris Brown. And also, we are here to remind you that P. Diddy was involved in the killing of Tupac Shakur, although it might never be proven, but I would not be surprised. But you know what? It ain't about that. It's not about that bullshit. We're talking Pink Floyd, The Dark Side of the Moon. I mean, I have a fucking vinyl right here, man. I mean, you tell me I ain't a big fan. So, ladies and gentlemen, we all know that Roger Waters, when he was creating this album, he intended it for just continually flowing into one. So it would be like one whole song, but it's a bunch of different tracks and all that, but you know what I mean. It's like with if you listen to Emerson, Lake and Palmer's songs like Tarkus or Carnival 9, then you would know what I mean, right, Aegis?
Yeah, yeah. Or like Haken's Messiah Complex.
Yes. Oh, hold on a second. I got a little email right here. Oh, I'm okay. I was gonna be like, if I'm in trouble, dude, fuck them. They could go fuck themselves. All right. So as we all know, between Greg in the Sky and our next track, obviously they couldn't make that flow into one another because that's where the vinyl flips.
Yes.
Okay, the next song. Excuse me. The next song to start off side 2 is obviously their biggest hit from that, Money. For my interpretation, ladies and gentlemen, it's obviously about greed. Pretty much about living the excesses that everyone wants to do. Great food, big, beautiful cars, big ass mansions, yachts, you name it. It's pretty much about consumerism and what that could do to you. I mean, look at some of these corrupt, greedy fucks on Wall Street, for example. And let me tell you something. Do you think I can't remember, I don't think they played this song on the movie, but do you think this would be great with The Wolf of Wall Street?
That would have been a good movie for that song, yeah.
Yeah, because I've seen that, and I'm a huge Leonardo DiCaprio fan. Fucking awesome. Even was in one of my favorite Quentin Tarantino films that you showed me while I was tripping on acid.
Django Unchained.
Yep, Django Unchained. Like, I was like, what is going on here? But that's pretty much my take on it. It's pretty much just about greed in general. Like, what more and more money can do to you as you build up more. I mean, hell, dude. I wouldn't mind having a nice nest egg, but only if I need it.
Yeah, see, like once I get like millions of dollars, I'm gonna give so much to charity, like St. Jude, Feeding America, all that shit. Because really, in real life, there's no practical reason why anyone needs $1 billion.
Yeah,
There
I mean,
really isn't.
yeah, for me personally, dude, I would give it to my family, and I would actually
Yep, I'm gonna
donate it
do
to
that
like
too.
cancer research too, because I've had family who died from breast cancer and lung cancer, and it hits me pretty hard. So I would donate to like those stuff to dedicate it to
Yeah,
just talking about like cancer awareness and all that. You know,
yeah.
still hits me to
Anyway,
this day.
like, yeah, the meaning of this song to me is like I've got two possible interpretations. One is about like corporate greed, like you said, like people just hoarding money for no reason than to be rich and richer and richer and richer.
Yes.
But there's another possible interpretation that I have, and that is just about capitalism. All life is just making more and more money so you can live and feed yourself.
Yeah,
Like
and
all life is about is just working, slaving away so you have enough money to live.
yeah. So now that you bring that up, Aegis, I just want to quickly say that was basically like one of the many interpretations they made for their album Animals, so which was released 4 years later. It was basically their concept was for Animals was like modern society at that point was decaying, and they were entering like a somewhat dystopian future, and capitalism was to blame for it. You know. Okay,
Yeah.
so the next one, oh ho ho, this is a good one, and this is probably one of my all-time favorite Pink Floyd songs, "Us and Them." And ladies and gentlemen, I'm just letting you know that I do not intend to like get involved in politics or talk politics because I want to keep that separate. But for this case,
Yeah.
I am going to make an exception. So for some of you who don't want to hear it, well, discretion advised here. Us and Them for me personally is about conflict, wars, fighting with your neighbor, fighting, just fighting in general, you know? Some of
Yeah.
the words,
Unnecessarily like conflict, like stuff that shouldn't be there, you know?
yeah, like there's no reason to be there for it to be there. And
Yeah.
then there's like some
People are
stuff that,
just
yeah, and
oh,
even
go
then,
ahead.
like the one part that hits me most, ladies and gentlemen, is that, and David Gilmour sings it, and after all, we are only ordinary men. That is pretty much just ordinary folks who get drafted or enlist in the military and who go off to go to war.
Yeah, and there's this one part of the song. It says black and blue, and who knows which is which and who is who. That reminds me a lot of book by Dr. Seuss. Can't remember the name, but there was a war between the butter side uppers, who are the people who preferred their butter on the top side of their toast. There were the
Yeah,
butter side downers, and they always put their butter on the bottom side of the toast. Then there was this one kid who got into this conflict, and he got this little tiny little bean. It was like a very powerful bomb. And at the end of the book, he was sitting on the fence, and he was told he's got to drop the bean on one side, but he doesn't know who the good guys are or who the bad guys are.
that is cut. And I'll tell you this, folks. For me, when it comes to that part, I think it's pretty much about like like how we see like all the sad, tragic stories of like law enforcement and all the police brutality and the sad killing of African Americans. And it hits me
Yes,
very hard because I'm a Black Lives Matter supporter, plain
me
and
too.
simple. And it hits me pretty hard with this part right here. And aside from that, folks, it's like when it comes to war for me, the last time that we went to war for any good reason was World War II.
Yes.
Aside from the war in Afghanistan, and we had a good reason because they attacked us on
Oil.
9/11. That was, yeah. Aside from that, though, ladies and gentlemen, World War II was a really good example for that. That we were fighting fascism and anti-Semitism, and
Yep.
then when we entered the Nazi death camps in April of 1945, and we saw what really happened in those camps, it became more than just a fight to stop fascism. It became a fight for humanity itself.
Yes.
And it feels like
There's
we've really lost sight of that.
we have. There's one more thing I do want to mention about this song. It's like after so long of just fighting and fighting for next to no reason, it's like, what are we even fighting for? Like in Romeo and Juliet, the Montagues and the Capulets, they've been in conflict for so many years, and we even know what they're fighting it for anymore. They just hate each other so
Yeah.
much. for
It.
no reason.
I would say this. So, now that you bring that up, okay, so just off topic, we all know that the Cranberries released the song "Zombie," and who's one of my favorite bands, and Dolores O'Riordan, God rest her soul. They ended up making the song "Zombie," which was protesting the war that was going on in Ireland between the government and the IRA, and that's it. It's pretty much simple. But aside from that, folks, despite all of that, I really love the overall sound. They
Yeah.
did such a good job with that. I love the sound, dude. It's without a doubt one of my all-time favorite Pink Floyd songs, and probably one of my all-time favorite Pink Floyd songs from this album in particular. Excuse me. I need a beer, man.
I'm already done with mine. Not
You don't have another one?
on hand, no.
No, well, I do, and I'm gonna fucking pop it open. The hell with it, right?
I'll be right back.
All right. But yeah, while he's going to do that, I'm just letting you know, ladies and gentlemen, that I normally do not talk politics, and I do not like talking politics. But when it comes to anything music-wise, I will make an exception for it. You may not like my politics. It is what it is, I just like to be open and honest about everything, and that's why everyone likes me that much. Because I am open and honest. I'm not someone who is bullshitting them. I tell you the realities. I tell it to your face. I don't try to say it behind your back. And that's why I get respect. All right, you got yours,
All right.
dude?
Yep.
Cheers, bro.
Let me crack it open quick.
Yeah, you might need
All
to
right,
give
cheers.
Bernie a drink too, so
You'll have one after I'm done with it.
I got you.
All right.
Remember, we are not officially sponsored, but someday we will. But also, before we do that, quick shout out to Clock Out Brewing Company in Grand Rapids. You guys are
Greatest
awesome.
local brewery. Greatest.
Yep, without a doubt, man. Without a doubt. Ah. Alrighty.
So that
So,
means we're on to brain damage.
no, it's any color you like. And
Oh, I missed that one.
yeah.
No, it's brain damage and then any color you like.
No, any color you like, then brain damage. Now, ladies and
Hold
gentlemen,
up.
he has to fix his bullshit.
Oh, yeah, I have my list mixed up. My bad. Yeah, you're
God
right.
damn it, Aegis. I told you. I've been telling you all fucking week.
Yeah, this one, unlike most of their instrumental songs, this one doesn't have any spoken words. It's just entirely instrumental.
And it's probably one of the sexiest songs that you can fuck to or have sex to. That's what I said for this song. It's about simply titled Love or Romance. Because if you listen to it, ladies and gentlemen, it does sound like it's one of those sexy time song kind of things, like where things get hot and heavy and romantic of sorts. Now, I stated for our question of this podcast, early fuckers, or I meant, ladies and gentlemen, I'm getting a little buzzed right now, is that this was supposed to have been one of the songs that I apparently lost my virginity to, but I can't remember because I was tripping at the time. Either on Jack Daniels or I might have had a joint. I don't know. But that's my interpretation about it. But I do like the synthesizers that sound in it. It sounds so good, Especially with Nick Mason's drumming in it, dude. It's pretty good. You got anything you want to say?
After that, no, I don't really have much to say about that song.
Oh, okay. All right, so the next one here is Brain Damage, and I stated this. It's about pretty much insanity. The lunatic is on the grass. The lunatic is in my head, that kind of stuff. But Aegis, I'll let you take most of it here. Go ahead.
So my interpretation is it's referencing Sid Barrett because he, like myself, was schizophrenic, though I'm high functioning. I have very mild schizophrenia. It doesn't hinder me too much.
Yeah.
But he had very severe schizophrenia, a lot worse than mine. And so, and he was doing a lot of drugs. And let me say, if you're schizophrenic, drugs are not a good idea.
Yeah.
Not at all.
And he
It
took a
makes it makes it just worse.
yeah, and Roger Waters said that he took a shit ton of LSD, man. Like there were moments where yeah, Sid Barrett would go off to a party. They had to find him the next morning, and he would be like in like an apartment or a studio apartment or like a condo, and there would just be like people passed out from the LSD, and he would be eventually among them. And they had to drag him the hell out of there, saying, "Hey, we gotta go to work, man. We gotta record." And even then, when it came to that, dude, throughout the recording process, like he was not fully there, dude. He was the reason why David Gilmour had to get hired because Sid Barrett was one of the main guitarists, and David Gilmour was brought in as like a substitute if Sid could not do it. And then sadly, we saw what happened, and it ended up he ended up
Yep.
leaving the band. And after that, there was no trace of him for several years until "Wish You Were Here."
Yeah, because the
He
thing about
wasn't back.
schizophrenia.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
he wasn't back in the band, but he just appeared out of nowhere when they were recording "Shine on You Crazy Diamond," which the song is entirely about Sid. But to bring it up
Yes.
to your point, he just like this song, I believe, is kind of about him, you know?
Yeah, because like one of the things about schizophrenia is if like you keep doing drugs and you don't get medicated for it, it just gets worse.
Yeah,
But anyway, so there's this one particular lyric that jumps out at me. The first two lines. There are two ways I can interpret this, but one interpretation that really hits home for me. It says the lunatic is on the grass. So that to me that hits like because occasionally I just make the mistake of smoking marijuana while I'm schizophrenic, and it makes everything worse. It's like the
yeah,
lunatic is on the grass. I'm like, yeah, that's me. I'm fucking schizophrenic, and I just smoked marijuana. It was a bad choice. I shouldn't have done that.
yeah.
But the other interpretation is, let me pull up what it says on the Genius page.
Yeah, go ahead and pull it up, man.
Waters is referring to areas of turf which display signs saying, "Please keep off the grass," with the exaggerated implication that disobeying such signs, excuse me, might indicate insanity. So instead of going down like the straight, narrow, straight path, he's the lunatic is on the grass, you know?
Yeah. It
And you got to keep the lunatics on the straight, narrow path.
yep.
As how the lyrics of the song are anyway.
Gotta keep the loonies on the path, man. And believe me, and I will just
Yep.
say this off topic, I'm not gonna mention names for privacy reasons, but there were many times where if I had a friend who was dealing with anything like a mental health crisis kind of thing, they would reach out to me immediately, and I would refer back to like got to keep the loonies on the path, and I would use that, and I would help them out, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
And believe me, folks, it's another good song, you know. And if the cloud bursts thunder in your ear, you shine a light, but no one seems to hear. And I'm trying to think like one of the parts where he says, "I'll see you on the dark side of the moon." What do you think that means,
I,
Aegis?
I think that means I'll see you in heaven, or I'll see you in the afterlife, to be more particular.
Yeah, for
Like the phrase "dark side of the moon" doesn't really sound like heaven to me. It just sounds like I'll see you in the afterlife.
yeah, for me personally, dude, when I hear that part, man, and like I said, dude, I'm trying not to like get personal stuff and whatnot, but every time I hear that part, dude, okay, so I had friends who sadly took their own lives, and I would end up going back to that part. "I'll see you on the dark side of the moon," and it fucking hits me, man. It really fucking
Yeah.
hits me. That kind of thing. But like I said, I love the overall sound. It's amazing. Oh, I can't find my mouse. Okay, there we go. I don't have a pet mouse. I'm on my computer. I mean, otherwise, how else are you gonna fucking watch this stuff? Okay, so now concluding the album, obviously. So every time when it comes to classic rock radio, they always play Brain Damage and Eclipse together simultaneously because they are. That's just how they are, you know? Fuck. Excuse me. For my interpretation for Eclipse is about death. The reason
Yep, I
why
agree wholeheartedly.
the reason why I say that, folks, is like the lyrics when Roger Waters is saying like all that you touch, all that you hear, all that you distaste, all you feel. It's like if you are having a
It's like
death
all the
experience,
things from your life, just kind of like your
like
life
flashing before
flashing
your
before your
eyes.
eyes.
Yeah, when everything
Yeah.
that you did just immediately flashes before your eyes before you die. That's how I see it, you know? And then you hear the heartbeat at the end of the song, and
And that
it's
is
just
death.
like your heart is about to stop.
Because
And
remember,
then,
at the beginning of the album, it started with that heartbeat,
yeah,
and at the ending of this song, it's like the heartbeat ending. It's like an entire life.
yes,
It's
yes,
like all the things you've done in life, like all the money that you've worked for, all you've earned, all the time that's gone by, everything the album is talking about. I was like, all of that happened, and now it's gone.
yeah. And
And then at the end of the song, Gary O'Driscoll says, or is it pronounced Jerry? I don't fucking know.
I don't know
He
anymore.
says, there is no dark side of the moon, really. Matter of fact, it's all dark. And the way I interpret that is they're atheists and they're saying like, yeah, when you die, is there is no afterlife. It's all dark. You just die and black out, and there's nothing left.
Yeah,
Which I disagree with, but
I
as
disagree
as I
with
say
that
a
too,
lot,
man.
like I
Like,
respect other
but
people's beliefs.
yeah, it is a very interesting quote though. It very is interesting because we all
Yeah.
because when it comes to death, we don't know what's gonna actually happen. We have to find that out when our times actually come. It's either you will actually go to heaven, you will go to hell, or it's just gonna be blacked out, over, game over. Simple as
Yep.
that. But it's like I said, it's a very good closing song, you know. And then, like I said, with the heartbeat, man, it starts to fade away and then just stops, and it's just like your heart stopping completely. Like my dad, he had a heart attack, man, and God rest his soul, man. I miss him every day, man. And that every time I hear Eclipse, I keep thinking back to him, you know.
Yeah. So what was your favorite song on the album?
Oh man, for me, dude, they are all so great, man. My most favorite one personally is Us and Them. I love the overall sound. It is actually ranked my number 3 all-time favorite Pink Floyd song. The first one is Dogs from Animals, Comfortably Numb by the Wall, which Aegis and I will do eventually, and then Us and Them from Dark Side of the Moon. Like, I don't know what it is. I think it's like how the music sounds is why I fell in love with it. And of course, I'm anti-war. I'm anti-conflict. Occasionally, I'll get into a
Excuse me.
bar fight or two, but those are just some minor disputes. But it feels like it just feels right with me, man. Like it's such an amazing song. Like it was actually considered one of their biggest hits from Dark Side when I saw it. Let me just quickly look that up. Um, Okay, so Money was their first single that they released in May of 1973, and then Us and Them was released February 4th, 1974 as a single, even though the song was already out, you know? Now, was there something that, what's your most favorite song, Aegis?
This may be very typical, but my God, I love that song Money. Especially like the music theorist in me, because most songs are in like 4/4 time. So it's like 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. But this song is in 7/4, which is and stuff like that is pretty common in like prog music. So like instead of
Yeah,
1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, it goes 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. And that's not a thing in like most popular music that you're going to hear most times.
yeah,
But a lot of prog brands will do that. Or like I've written songs that are like 15 time. So which means it's like 15 beats per measure.
yeah,
So there's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 1 2 and so on.
Yeah, and
So
here's
I think that's pretty cool, and I like that a lot.
yeah. I mean, here's
And
the
it's just a
thing,
good song, and the saxophone in it really hits hard.
dude.
Makes me
The
think
sax.
of "Ladies of the Road" by King Crimson.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and think. Like, I'm just looking it up. I wonder who it was that did the saxophone. I'm just looking it up. Oh, it was Dick Perry who did the saxophone on Money and Us and Them, man. And he is like probably one of the best saxophonists out there, you know. Okay,
Yeah, my
so
favorite saxophonist of all time was John Coltrane, but living,
yeah.
I
Oh,
really
I
got to
know
say
John
Johnny
Coltrane.
McCaslin.
I know who John Coltrane is. He's pretty good too, man.
Oh
So
yeah.
okay, so I told you this off of camera, but I might as well say it. So one of my friends from back home in Hill City was a high school graduate from there in 1973, and he told me that at his high school prom, Dark Side of the Moon was played throughout.
Yeah, you told me about that. I remember that now.
Yeah, and he said it was so fucking good, you know. So
Yeah.
before we close out, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to also let you know that when 2023 came around, the 50-year anniversary, Roger Waters actually did a redux of that album, which was released on October 6, 2023. And yeah, he wasn't intending to mimic it, but it was like a tribute album to remind people that the album exists. It was mostly spoken word stuff. And I've listened to a bit of it, and you know, Roger Waters, he has a unique way of how he does his stuff, man. But I thought it was somewhat good, but but we all know that there is no beating the original.
Oh yeah.
And I know that when they did the 50-year anniversary of it, Nick Mason had a competition to be like music videos or whatever, that kind of thing. And we actually did watch that one for the Great Gig in the Sky yesterday.
Well, that was a really cool animation.
That was amazing, dude. I was like,
If you haven't watched it yet, go check it out. Do you think you'll have the link in the description?
yeah, I will actually add it in the link, and I will add it along with the album as well. And I will also include the link to the Redux album. And I'll let you guys decide what is it that you like about it, you know? But holy shit, man. What's that?
All right, do you have anything else to say?
Not really, man. I'm just looking something up quick.
All right, I just gotta give a plug to my own channel quick. The Intermission group. We recorded a video today where it was a really basic video. We're just ranking mustards, and it was actually really fun to record. We had Heinz, Plackmans, Great Value, and French's.
I still think it's either Danish or Swedish, but that's just me. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for listening, man. It was exciting, and like I said, dude, I got to record my first ever video with the Intermission group, dude. I'm excited to see what we do. We got a lot of really great ideas. We're gonna do our own series that's kind of like Breaking Bad, but instead it'll be
we're not gonna say what it is yet. We're not gonna say it, but
too late. All right, told you.
Be a surprise.
So yeah, we ain't gonna say much, but that's all you need to know. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning in today, man. It is exciting. I'm excited to see what the future holds. And hey, let me ask you this, folks. What do you think is your most favorite Dark Side of the Moon song from that album? Let us know in the description below. And if you haven't yet, go check out our channel, the Intermission group. I will be a member of it. Aegis is the main guy in that, obviously, but I'll be helping out with that as well, with filming, editing, and being an actor and all that. So go check it out today. We got lots of great stuff ahead of us, and obviously I'm excited to see what happens, man. I'm sure you're excited. We got a lot of great stuff that will be coming ahead. And before we sign off, man, final cheers, man. Remember, we are not officially sponsored yet, but someday we will be.
Someday.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers. And a huge happy birthday to our boy G Money. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for listening in. And until next time, ta-ta
Peace out.
for now.